The college football experience, Oklahoma Sooners 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our very own Patreon. Yes, score exclusive perks, content, and contest, including our NFL win totals contest with $1,000 in $1,000 prize to first place. Essentially, join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That is sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Jim Mora, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience, Oklahoma Sooners 2023 season preview episode. The last year in the Big 12 coming our way for the folks in Norman, and I'm excited to talk ball here with regarding Oklahoma. They had a tough first year under Venables, and we're going to dive into that. We're going to dive into the portal. We're going to dive into the offense, the defense, the special teams, and go game by game on the Sooners schedule. But hopefully you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. And if you are, you will see that I am joined by a guest here. You've heard him on the NBA gambling podcast. You've heard him on the MLB gambling podcast, but he also writes a ton of great college football content that I give you. Lonte Smith, how you doing, man?
What's up, man? Looking forward to going through this with you, man. Second time back. I thought after the first time, I was wondering. Wondering if you were going to hit me up again. So I'm glad to be back, man.
Yeah, I told you, beware what you wish for, folks. And I guess if you're wondering who the hell who the hell I am. This is my 8th podcast today, so wow. I got a little bit of word. The brain starts to slow down a little bit. You can't make sense. Starts sounding like you've been a boxer in his 70s. But folks, yes, you're probably wondering just who the hell I am. My name is Colby Swigga, Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
I think that's what they got to do. If it's Oklahoma, if you're an Oklahoma fan, you got to say, last year, pretend it never happened. Let's get along with our life. All right. Yep. But let's dive into a little bit from last season before we talk portal and stuff. The Brent Venables era. He was a defensive coordinator at Oklahoma for a long time before going to Clemson. Obviously did great things at Clemson. He played at Kansas State for legendary coach Bill Snyder. Last season, 6-7 season, first losing season in a long time since the late 90s. And, it's funny. I listened to a lot of other content and people were quick to point out how many close losses they had. 7-point loss to Kansas State, who won the conference, 3-point loss to Baylor, 3-point loss to West Virginia, 3-point loss in double overtime to Texas Tech, and then a 3-point loss to Florida State in the Cheez-It Bowl. Now, that's all good. I understand that point. But at the same time, you lost to West Virginia, who's not very good, right?
Right.
There's no I don't know how you butter that thing up, and then losing at home to Baylor. Losing at home, and the K-State game was basically a 14-point game. It was like a last second score to make it a 7-point game. So I think it's a little bit, it depends how you want to push the narrative on when you're talking about the team. I'm just going to go ahead and say they weren't what we thought they were last year. Obviously 49-point loss to Texas. That happens again, that'll get you fired. And obviously TCU, but that's because Dillon Gabriel got dinged up. How would you assess his first season?
Yeah, so we were talking a little bit off air. I think I'm a little bit indifferent about it. I mean, I usually try to give a little bit more slack to first year coaches, being that they're transitioning into something that they've never done before, especially being in this big of a position with the Oklahoma Sooners. And I mean, the personnel is it is what it is. I mean, these are not his guys. But again, some games they were mismanaged. You mentioned this is the first time they were below 500 since '98. This was the first time. This is the most losses they've had since '97. So things like that aren't supposed to happen at Oklahoma. I don't care what kind of personnel you have. You're not supposed to be as bad as they were last year. I mean, I think they were 122nd in overall defensive metric, or the defense scoring defense. I'm sorry. So yeah, I mean, I think it was obviously a disaster. But again, you had some issues with Dillon Gabriel and him being in and out of the lineup, and that was big for them. They didn't have a quarterback running a wildcat against Texas. They couldn't even throw the ball, and that was disgusting to watch. But yeah, so overall, it was a disaster. But again, I'm kind of optimistic on the bunch this year, and I'm pretty sure we'll get into that in a few minutes.
Yeah, and another thing about they only beat one team with a winning record a season ago. So I mean, as much as you want to praise them for the other things, beating only one team with a winning record stands out as well. Once again, I'm not trying to push the narrative that they suck. I'm just saying I hear everyone talking about how many close losses they had, and I feel like you got to give a little more context than that. So look, it's going to be interesting because I do think Brent Venables is going to end up being probably a pretty solid coach. I just think, patience, like you said, first year is always tough, the portal, all this stuff. Another thing to remember is Oklahoma put a target on their back by announcing they were moving to the SEC a couple of years ago. So they're getting everyone's best punch. And that's something I think we're going to talk about a lot on this episode. So look, we're going to dive into it. But before we do that, I want to tell you folks out there that the Oklahoma Sooners 2023 college football season preview episode on the College Football Experience is brought to you by Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Yes. Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon is a perfect really for any diehard DGen. Sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL win totals contest with $1,000 first place prize, plus a monthly SGP stories podcast. Yes, you might hear a story about how Patty C cost me $10,000, right? It's happened before, right? Or when we're hanging out with Mike Leach or something like that. We have some good stories that I think we can tell off air, aka via Patreon. Anyway, so yeah. Check it out. There's even a Discord channel just for our patrons. The Sports Gambling Podcast has and always will. And I think sometimes when you start rattling off this ad, don't get it confused, folks. We always will give away our picks for free. All right. We're never going to be one of those hey, this is Pick Dundee. Call 1-800-PICK Dundee here. All right. And because let's be honest, I mean, if I knew every fucking game, I'd be living on a yacht in Bora Bora, and I would have zero interest in talking to you. I'll be honest, right? Like if I knew every game, like it was Back to the Future 2, with just picking every game, then I would have honestly zero interest in I would just be sitting on my yacht every day, enjoying life. But yeah, okay. So the picks will still be free. We do think we are knowledgeable. We're just saying, you listen to some of these hacks. It's like, dude, if you did this, why would you be making this commercial? But anyway, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. We are back on the College Football Experience. Hopefully you're watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Reminder that I also host the FCS College Football Experience. This is the College Football Experience, and the College Basketball Experience I host every single night of the season once the basketball season tips. So Sooners, I know Porter Moser, it's a big year for him in Norman. Also College Baseball Experience. Oklahoma keeps a decent baseball team. Check us out. Also the Big 12 College Experience, which is on our feed. I don't host that one, but it is on our feed. So and it's fantastic. So check out that as well. Come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. All right. Well, look, previewing these teams, and I know I kind of told you this on the Nevada episode. Yeah. Man, 5 or 6 years ago, you really could just kind of breeze over the portal. It's not really accessible these days. Like you have to dive into the portal and see. Right. It's such a big phase in college football. I think if you're not doing it, that's why I'm very curious to see, because Clemson's fell off a little bit since the portal's gotten a little crazy. They're still good, but they fell off a little bit. And I'm curious long term if Dabo Swinney's no portal policy is the best option for their program. But let's talk about it with Oklahoma, because they certainly believe in the transfer portal. Departing, they lost defensive lineman Derek LeBlanc, 4-star transfer according to 24/7 Sports. He heads out to the UCF Golden Knights, who are on the schedule this year. Actually, I think homecoming is against UCF. So interesting. That's a tough loss to lose a guy who's a 4-star to a team that, well, I guess for 1 year you're going to be playing. Then you have offensive tackle Cullen Montgomery, another 4-star, headed out to the Memphis Tigers. Interesting. Also, safety Jamarian Burt is in the portal, looking for a home. I think that's what's interesting too. You get so many players that hit the portal, and
Right.
it's sometimes you can't find yourself a home. Now, most of the players at Oklahoma will have no problem finding a home, but you get to some of those other programs, start talking Tulsa or something, you better make sure you have a home. Safety Damon Harmon headed out to North Carolina A&T. Hey, there you go. Right. I mean, Greensboro, North Carolina. Right.
Yeah, they're gonna need it. They're gonna need it.
Yeah, they're gonna need it. Because Vincent Brown, brand new head coach coming in.
Yeah, they're gonna need it. They're gonna need it. They lost the running back to Virginia Tech, if I'm not mistaken. He was really,
you're right.
really good.
You're right.
Really
yeah.
good. Yeah. They're transitioning to another conference. I think it's like their second conference in the last 3 years. So yeah, man, I don't want to make it an A&T podcast. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good, man. We love all the conferences. Like I said, I host the FCS College Football Experience. Let's talk North Carolina A&T. We'll talk about it on that feed because they are jumping into the CAA. Cornerback Jaden Davis, 4-star transfer. Once again, man, losing these 4-star transfers is a little alarming. To the Miami Hurricanes. Maybe they, John Ruiz has this gigantic collective, so maybe they offered him a shit ton of money. But he's out to the Hurricanes. And then defensive lineman Corey Roberson goes to SMU, who is on the schedule this year as well. Wide receiver Damon Smith in the portal. Quarterback Micah Bowens in the portal. Offensive lineman Bray Walker heads out to Texas State, as well as Marcus Alexander, another offensive lineman, heads out to the Sun Belt in Texas State. Memphis did grab a 4-star defensive lineman and Josh Ellison. So that's another substantial loss worth noting. They also lost defensive end Cavante Henry to the portal. Defensive end Clayton Smith landed at Arizona State. Defensive lineman Alton Tarber is in the portal. Defensive lineman Cedric Roberts, portal. Wide receiver Davion Woolen is in the portal as well. New Mexico grabbed a safety Bryson Washington. Wisconsin grabbed quarterback Nick Evers, which I don't think is a big loss considering the depth that the Sooners have at the quarterback position. Not a knock against Evers. He might be all right, but I'm just saying Oklahoma's got guys. Wide receiver Trevon West in the portal. Safety Jordan Mukes heads out to Abilene Christian. Cornerback Kendall Dennis to South Florida. Wide receiver Brian Darby, portal. Man, this is a long list. Cornerback Joshua Eaton to Texas State. That's the 3rd Texas State loss. Wide receiver Theo Weiss. I know him. 4-star transfer. He's a solid wideout. Heads out to Missouri. All right.
That's a good get for Missouri.
That is a good get for Missouri. That is really a good get for Missouri. All right. Now what the Oklahoma Sooners landed. Now, offensive tackle Aaron Parks had entered the portal in late June. He's a 4-star. They were able to talk him back. I think that is a win within itself, even though you're not going to see that when grading the portal. Defensive lineman Dejon Terry comes in from Tennessee. He's a 3-star recruit in Knoxville. Samford going out. I'm sorry. Ferris State, not Samford. They have the similar looking mascot.
Yeah,
linebacker.
right?
Yeah, and they're nasty. They've won two national championships back to back.
Yeah, he's an All-American too.
Yeah, Connor Neal coming in from Ferris State in Michigan. Nice get there. And then Appalachian State offensive lineman Troy Everett. App State keeps some pretty good offensive linemen too. I feel like they're like a good power running team.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This one, I don't know how you feel about this stuff, man, but this drives me crazy. Wide receiver Brennan Thompson leaves Texas to go to Oklahoma. What the fuck, man? You can go anywhere. You can go anywhere.
I remember on the old shows used to have a soundboard.
I still have it, but I gotta find it. Like the soundboard's been adjusted. Hold on, I will find. Here we go. I mean,
he's gonna play too. Like he's gonna play there. He's gonna play at OU.
There's nothing sacred anymore. You know what I mean? Like there's supposed to be. There hasn't been a Carolina Duke transfer in basketball yet, but that thing's coming at some point. It's coming. Like there's 133 FBS teams. All right, there should just be one. Look, I want players to have the freedom to go to whatever school they want, with exception to your arch rival. All right, that's the only line I'm saying here. All right, I support the freedom. But come on, man, the arch rival. I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand how you wake up. You put on the Texas uniform last year. Now you're switching over to Oklahoma uniform. He might be a damn good receiver, nice guy, but damn, it's killing me. It's killing me. So Brennan Thompson's coming in to Oklahoma. I suppose it's a good get.
Yeah, he's gonna play.
Yeah, and then Michigan wide receiver Andrel Anthony. You know, Michigan's interesting because I feel like they don't pass the ball. They could have some gems in their wide receiver, unit. Nah. Yeah.
I mean, they might have gems, but like you said, they just don't pass the ball enough.
Yeah, they don't commit to it.
Just like with Iowa, you remember Charlie Jones was there, and then he goes to Purdue, and he looks like Wes Welker, like
unbelievable.
Yeah,
so Charlie Jones, dude, he had like 200 targets. I feel like he broke. He was by far.
I would take the over on that. He was probably every time there was dropped back, and he was always open. He was killing it. Yeah,
absolutely killing it. So perhaps a nice, maybe an underrated get there in Andrel Anthony. Defensive lineman Rondell Balthroyd comes in from Wake Forest. Wake Forest, Dave Clawson calls that the incubator, where he's got these guys like Kenneth Walker, right? He does a great job developing talent in Winston-Salem there. So watch out. I bet you Balthroyd, who's a 4-star get anyway.
Yeah,
watch him be a stud. Watch him be a stud. Yeah. They also bring in Miami, Ohio offensive guard Caleb Schaefer, who was very good in the MAC.
Really good.
Yeah. Defensive lineman Davon Sears from Texas State. This is hilarious. They take 3 guys. They gave 3 of their guys to Texas State essentially just so they could get their best defensive lineman, Davon Sears. So we got trades happening in college football, folks. Offensive tackle Walter Rouse from Stanford. Once again, Stanford's like entire team transferred out when their coach retired. Yeah. So that's a nice get. Safety Reggie Pearson Jr. comes over from Texas Tech. Once again, I mean, I'm not going to call this one out as much as Texas, but still, I mean, come on, man, you fucking what the fuck? And then Oklahoma State. What?
Oh wow, I didn't. See
I mean, defensive lineman Trace Ford comes in from Oklahoma State.
Oh wow.
See, this is what I mean, man. It's like this is just. You give them the portal, say go, and this crazy shit starts happening.
Got to put the no trade clause on them. Like got to put something like
you
a no trade clause.
Write that into the scholarship.
The NIL contract.
Yeah,
you got to
something. Say you can go anywhere. All right, just not. There's like honestly, like Oklahoma should just be like, no one can transfer to Oklahoma State or Texas. That's it. I'm good. Anywhere else, 130 other schools you can transfer to, and FCS 200 and some. All right. Anyway, I mean, they're killing it in the portal though. They keep landing all these guys. Indiana linebacker Dasan McCullough. This guy was a 5-star recruit, I believe, from Indiana. I mean, that doesn't happen at Indiana, and that's why he leaves for Oklahoma. This one I understand. This one I very much understand. Tight end Austin Stogner, who transferred out of Oklahoma a year ago to go to South Carolina, didn't put up the numbers he thought he would do at South Carolina because Jaheim Bell is a stud. Yep. Bounces back to Oklahoma. That's a good get. It was good a couple years ago with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. Tight end also Blake Smith from Texas A&M comes into the Sooners. Punter Luke Elzinga from Central Michigan comes in, and this one was a huge get here. Defensive lineman Jacob Lacey from the Notre Dame Fighting Irishmen. Notre Dame's line of scrimmage. We can talk.
Elite. Yep.
Yeah, that's a really nice get by Oklahoma. So when it's all said and done, I think they won the transfer portal. I mean, it's almost a wash to me, but like, I still feel like they won the portal. They got guys they wanted. When it comes to like these blue bloods in college football, I feel like it's like when you preview Ohio State or LSU or something, there's going to be a lot of talented players that leave.
Yep.
But a lot of times because they're backups. To me, I always pay attention to what they get because it's pinpointing the flaw in their roster and they're going out to try to get guys. And if they're interested in you, that means you can play pretty much.
Absolutely.
So would you say they won the portal? What would you say?
Yeah, I give them a slight upgrade, simply because they lost more impactful players offensively, and I think, like you just mentioned, Oklahoma offensively is still going to be what they are. I mean, even people thought since Venables was coming in, defensive-minded head coach, that their offense would fall back, obviously because Lincoln being offensive-minded, but their offense was fine. I think they still were, if not, they were on par, if not a little bit better than they were the year that Lincoln was there. But I think the gets that they got really improved their defense, which is what's actually needs to be improved is their defense. Offensively, they're always going to have good backs. They're always going to have good receivers. And you can coach it. Libby is good on the offensive side. They got one of the best offensive line coaches there. Losing 3 offensive linemen, one to the NFL, well, 2 to the NFL actually, and then another was second team Big 12. That kind of bothered me a little bit also. But again, they got one of the best O-line coaches. They always are going to have good offensive linemen, and they brought in some solid offensive linemen in the portal. So I would say slightly a win to me.
I agree. I completely agree. Let's talk a little bit about the offense because Jeff Lebby a year ago, 31st in scoring offense. Remember, Dillon Gabriel missed 2 games too. 31st in scoring offense, 10th in rushing offense, 41st in passing offense, 13th in total offense. Jeff Lebby is a fantastic offense coordinator when it comes to putting points on the board and being a top offense. He did that at Ole Miss. Now, if you haven't listened to our show before regarding Jeff Lebby, he drives me crazy, and the rule changes drive me absolutely crazy. So Dillon Gabriel is a very good quarterback, but I have a ton of issues with the style that Matt Corral did this at Ole Miss, and I think I don't know Jeff Lebby personally, but I believe this is part of his philosophy because Lebby was at Ole Miss with Matt Corral. He comes over and he was at UCF with Dillon Gabriel.
Yep.
So Dillon Gabriel did this at UCF. Then I saw Matt Corral do this at Ole Miss. Now I see Gabriel do it again at Oklahoma. And he got, if you remember, he got knocked out of 2 games. Look, I don't wish injury on anybody, but at the same time, I find it ridiculous that they do these quarterback draws and you're basically a running back in these scenarios with Dillon Gabriel or Matt Corral. And they do this abrupt slide that at the very last possible second, they slide and the defender's already committed and they get the 15-yard penalty. So it drives me absolutely fucking crazy because what they're doing is trying to take advantage of this rule with player safety, right? And as you recall last year, I believe it was the TCU game.
Yep, it was. Yep. Where
the dude hit him late as hell. And look, in this scenario, the guy was actually late. But to me, it was like, you want to fuck around and keep doing this? This is what you get. You know what I mean? Like this is what you get. It reminds me of the Kenny Pickett fake slide. Like I actually think we should have a policy where we shouldn't allow that. Like if you're going to be a running back and do this, if the quarterback's going to take off and decide to run, I think you should get, if you're going to try to do this and abuse the rules for safety, I think there should be a penalty for that. So I fucking hate this offense because of that. Dude, it drives me. I was watching so many of these Oklahoma games. I think it was the Nebraska game and stuff like that. And I'm like, they kept getting those 15-yard penalties. And I'm like, man, it's bullshit. Cause they're playing on that. If you're a defender, you're running up, you're a defensive back or some linebacker and you're running up and full at speed. Full speed at the very last second that shit happens. And like I said, I don't want players to get hurt, but at the same time, I'm like, if there's ever a case where you deserve to be hurt, in my opinion, these would be the cases. So, it drives me crazy. I don't know about you. I mean, look, the offense flies, the offense does things, but that is something that I truly believe Levy instills in his players. He's like, hey, we can take advantage of the 15-yard penalty. So do the slide very abruptly. You know, you watch other quarterbacks and like you can tell they're sliding like 3 seconds before. Like they do it a very abrupt style, and Corral did it at Ole Miss, and it drives me fucking crazy as someone that loves football.
I never paid attention to it, but now that you are bringing it up, I'm kind of thinking about how many penalties they drew, like personal fouls that they drew, and that was how Gabriel got hurt. That is how he got hurt.
And look, and I actually think on that play that guy was late, but at the same time, I could see if I was a defender, my patience would be tired of that shit. I'd be like, you know what, I'm just gonna go all in. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It personally drives me absolutely crazy watching that offense when that happens, when those specific plays. Otherwise, the offense is cooking always. But I don't know. I just think I think like, to me, we're trying to make the game safer, and it's like they're doing that to abuse it. It's within the rules right now, but it's like, what are we really doing here? By you doing it that abruptly, I think you're making the injury more possible. So it's like, I don't know. It just drives me crazy, man.
I never thought of it like that, or I never even looked at it. Sometimes I'm not a fan of what he does with Oklahoma right now, because I mean, if you know that they're struggling defensively, I mean, try to slow it down a little bit. I'm not saying you have to huddle up, but I mean, you know, the defense is struggling, and if you're not clicking and you're going, you know, 1,000,000 miles per hour, it's fine when it's working. Obviously, everything is, but I mean, kind of be a little bit more pace if you know the defense is struggling, to get them a little bit of a little breather here. So that's one of the things I have a problem with. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's very fair. So look, Dillon Gabriel comes back, and like I said, like he's a good quarterback. He's a good quarterback when he's healthy. Now, here's the thing: he's got to stay healthy, because Jackson Arnold, who is the backup quarterback, who's a freshman. Apparently this guy's a fucking stud. Like everyone, this guy's going to be like a top 10 pick. So Dillon Gabriel, I'd watch it on those abrupt slides, because if you get knocked out at one of these games, your career might be over because of, your career at Oklahoma might be over because Jackson Arnold is apparently that guy. I've seen like people say like Caleb Williams 2.0 or something like that, or you know, Kyler Murray 2.0 or something like that. So watch out, beware that the backup. So that's good depth though, for analyzing the team, the quarterback position. And they also have a 4th-string quarterback named General Booty. Can we talk about this? I mean, this,
he actually got a start last year.
This I can root for. You know what I mean? This I'm on board. All right. I mean, best names, somebody. Gosh. Yes, it's fantastic work there. The running back position's interesting. Jovantae Barnes, Marcus Major at the running back spots. I know they also brought in. They have a freshman, Dalen Smothers, that I think they're excited about. Yeah, so the running back, the running back room seems really good, and he's been recruiting fairly well. So that's always a good sign, despite having a losing season in your first year. The receiver position, I think this is one we circle. Because this is kind of we're counting on these transfers. Andrel Anthony and Thompson, the Texas and Michigan transfer. They do have Drake Stoops, son of legendary Oklahoma coach Bob Stoops. He's a decent wideout, and Jalil. How do I say this one? Farooq, I think it is.
Yep, Farooq. Yep.
And then so the receiver position seemed to be an area of weakness from a season ago. How do you feel about the wideouts coming into 2023?
Yeah, that's the biggest question mark I have offensively, is the wide receiver. Now, Farooq he's fine. He's actually pretty versatile. So they can give it to him out of the backfield. He can line up in the slot. He can line up out wide. He actually lined up out wide 86% of the time. He almost had 500 yards, had 5 touchdowns, and that was with Marvin Mims and Theo Weiss on the roster. So he performed pretty well. But again, it's a lot easier to be a number 3 than it is to be a number 1, which is what they're probably going to be, expecting from Farooq, because he's already had a year in the system. He knows the language. He knows, where to be, where he has a rapport with Dillon Gabriel. So they're going to expect him to be the number 1. Now, going from number 2 to number 1 is hard enough, but now you're going from number 3 to number 1. And I'm not sure. I don't know if he's ready for that just yet. So it's going to have to be more so a committee. And the other guys we were talking about, like the Michigan transfer, he didn't have a lot of experience because Michigan is a ground and pound team. They don't throw the ball unless they have to. And Brennan Thompson, I mean, I think he's fun, but once again, he probably left because AD Mitchell was there, and he was like, well, they getting Isaiah Nayer back. AD Mitchell's coming in. I'm probably not going to see the ball. Now again, he could have transferred anywhere else to play, but I mean, it's just a big question mark here. Stogner is going to be a big addition to him. He's really good pass blocking as well, but again, that was in a different system. He has to learn Levy's system and get the verbiage down. But overall, this is the biggest question mark I have. Not saying obviously they have talent there, but again, none of these guys have had the experience of being a number one, and it's all going to be on Farooq, who was number 3 last year, to become that number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah, that's I completely I'll echo whatever you just said, because the wide receiver position is still the biggest question mark. They got talent, but normally Oklahoma has guys that are going to be like
right.
For sure, you're like, hey, this guy will be a 1st or 2nd round draft pick or something. Now, I'm not saying Farooq can't accomplish that, but there's certainly a lot of question marks if regarding him being the top guy. The offensive line does return 4 of 5 starters in a way. All right, so like Walter Rouse comes in from Stanford, so he wasn't a starter at Oklahoma, but he's a starter. You have 4 guys that have started college football games. Yeah. Also, the other right tackle spot, who they're breaking in, the newcomer, started I believe started 1 game, played 9 with TCU, and that is Tyler Guyton. So offensive line, I feel all right about the offensive line.
Let me ask you something about Walter Rouse. Is he back good? I know he had off-season surgery. So I'm not sure if he's like 100% or if they were holding him out for precautionary reasons. So have you read anything about him being good? Because I'm kind of seeing not much being said about if he's going to be ready for spring or whatever. Maybe I just overlooked it.
No. I haven't seen if he will be starting on day 1, but I do think by the time, and that's what we can talk about too, is like they don't have a Power 5 non-con game. So right. They were supposed to play Georgia. Folks don't know, might not know this. They were supposed to play Georgia. Greg Sankey urged Georgia and Oklahoma to cancel that series so they could profit off it with their SEC money a year from now. So that's a nice break. Not having to play Georgia. I'd say that's a nice break.
That's an extra win. That's an extra win for you. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I do think by the time Big 12 play opens up conference play, I think he should be ready to go by then. But yeah, that's something to monitor for sure. Yeah, good point.
I didn't know if you had seen anything. I had it circled on my sheet.
I mean, this guy has started 39 games at Stanford.
Yep.
39. So I would say if he's 100%, he's going to start, I think. So the defensive side of the ball, Ted Roof, old school, old Duke head coach, Ted Roof coming in, last year was his first year. I know some people question the hire, but they're probably questioning it even more this year, but 98th in scoring defense a year ago, 105th in rush defense, 118th in pass defense, 121st in overall defense. So there's 131 teams a year ago. This is a bottom 10 defense in America. The question is how fast can Venables patch it up? Obviously we touched on the transfer portal and he's bringing in guys, but still, I mean, 121st is 121st. You know what I mean? Like,
and you're Oklahoma. You're down there. You're down there with the Texas States, the UL Monroes. That's horrible. That's horrible.
Well, let's say even if he does land these transfers, like, what is a reasonable expectation? Like, top 80? Well, that would be a great improvement. Like,
got to be top 80. Yeah.
But the defensive line, obviously Lacey comes in from Notre Dame. Now he played in 37 games there. Didn't start. Played in 37 games there, but still Notre Dame's very good on the line of scrimmage. Balthroyd coming in from Wake Forest, penciled in to be a starter. He started at Wake. Also, R. Mason Thomas at the other end spot, and Jonah Lalulu. So 3 of 4 back on the defensive line. That's a little. 3 starters played college football on the defensive line. The portal changes this. So you get in such a rhythm of saying 3 or 4 starters back on the defensive line. You're like, well, not at Oklahoma, but anyway, linebacking core, Danny Stutzman's back. Desan McCullough comes in from Indiana, who I know, they raved about him, and obviously he was a big time recruit for Indiana. Also breaking in a new middle linebacker in Jaron Kanik. Now, this is an area Venables played linebacker, as we alluded to, but only one returning starter. A little bit of a red flag there.
On the linebacking, I kind of like the linebacking core. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that from what I've been reading, Venables is spending a lot more time with those linebackers. Obviously, that's the position he played, and that's what he was comfortable with at Clemson. And I think the key to his defense is the linebacker core. I think Stutzman and the Indiana transfer coming in, I think they'll master that. Again, they got to get a deeper rotation, because Stutzman was on the field a lot more than what you would want from your best linebacker. I mean, you got to give him a little bit of a break and to rotate those guys in and out of there. So, I mean, I'm kind of bullish on the front seven. Now the back end, I know we'll get to. That's where I have, the question marks. But the front seven, I think they'll be fine. With Venables doing his thing, and second is going to be a language that they've already familiar with. They're just kind of perfecting what they do. So I think the front seven will be fine. It's just the back end that I'm kind of worried about.
Yeah, the back end. Let's talk about that, because they returned strong safety Billy Bowman, and also Woody Washington at the corner spot. But that's it. Now they are bringing in the Texas Tech transfer Reggie Pearson at the free safety spot. Also, the other corner spot looks like it's going to be Kendall Dolby. Man, that I can see why you're concerned there. Let me ask you this: Brent Venables was in the ACC for a while. This is why I'm kind of bullish on Jeff Brown and Louisville this year. The ACC hasn't had the most explosive offenses. You looked at like NC State had Tim Beck, and I was like, why do they they
running
could be a lot. Yeah, it drive me crazy.
Me too.
You'd have just North Carolina was super explosive. There's no denying that over the past couple of years with Josh Downs, and then you had Michael Carter and stuff at the running back spot. And okay, that was like your one explosive. Pitt is not an explosive offense ever, really. Since Dan Marino, I feel like.
Right.
Boston College, no. Syracuse, no. Virginia, a little bit under Brennan Armstrong, but
when Robert and I was there, they were. Yeah. But that was Virginia, just 1 year though. That was just 1 year.
Yeah, just 1 year, and then Virginia Tech, not really. Even under Beamer, not really. So Florida State, okay, you go back to Jimbo's era, yeah, but not really over since then. But so I wonder if Venables coming in after those experiences in the ACC is like, yeah, we got this, and then realizing how good some of these Big 12 offenses are. I mean,
that's a good question. I've never heard anybody say it or break it down like that. That's a very, very good point, actually.
Well, and there's a lot of diversity offensively, as far as like when you play Texas Tech, they're going to air it out. They have 3 different quarterbacks. They air it out. Right. Texas was like a power running team last year with Quinn Ewers. Oklahoma State's going to air it out. Kansas State, power running team. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times running their quarterbacks. From team to team, Kansas with Jalen Daniels and doing all this with this option stuff. It's just a lot of difference to me going up against the offenses in the Big 12 than say the ACC.
Yeah,
where
even
I think you can get. What's that?
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Where I just feel like you can kind of get pigeonholed in like we're gonna play this style of defense.
Yeah.
Whereas like
agree.
in the Big 12, I feel like it's a jack of all trades. Game in, game out. You're like, whoa, what are they doing?
And then you got some teams that can do both really well. So you're kind of off balance. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Clemson out of conference when Venables was there, I don't think they played any like pass happy offenses. So he wasn't really prepped for that, to be honest. I mean, and it's not like Clemson was throwing it all over the yard when he was there outside of, Lawrence. And even then they were kind of more balanced. They weren't letting Lawrence drop back, 35 times a game like somebody's doing the Big 12. So that's a hell of a point right there.
Yeah, well, that's why I think Brown can succeed. I feel like it's kind of like a fish out of water. Sometimes that works for you, but I mean, I have concerns on the defensive side of the ball in general. We'll see how fast. This is almost like the Deion Sanders argument of like, how fast can you come in and understand your system and what you want to accomplish,
right?
And how fast can you execute that? Now, speaking of Deion Sanders, Brent Venables, Deion's catching strays from Brent Venables.
He's catching strays from everybody. Yeah,
What's going on?
Why does everybody hate Deion, man? Why does everybody
I don't
hate
understand. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't do the Deion route. I didn't bring in 1,000 transfers. Yeah, you also weren't 1-11. All right, you took over a team that was 10-2 or something, 9-3 that had recently been in the college football playoff. Fucking what did he do to you? I don't understand. I don't understand
that either. I guess that's the cool thing to do. I guess that's just the cool thing to do.
Gosh, it bothers me when I see that. I'm like, why? Look, all right, this is you went and got a guy from Texas. Deion can sit there. Deion can sit there and say something about that, but he doesn't. All right, he doesn't. Anyway, look, we're going to get to the schedule, go game by game on the schedule, but I'm curious. Let me ask you this point before we go to a read here, a break. The offense, you think will be better than last year?
Yeah, I do. I really do. Simply because I think they're going to implement more on the running game. I think they're going to run those. They got like 4 running backs. Literally, they got 4 backs that can come in. Now, I mean, Smothers, Jalil, he's good. I seen him play he's from Charlotte. I saw him play a lot. He played actually at one of my best friend's daughter's school, so I got to watch him a bunch. He actually, a lot of people don't know, he actually didn't play his senior year. I think he switched schools and something happened, but he's gonna be really good. And my point is, they have 4 really good backs that they can rotate in and out. So it's no reason not to give those guys multiple carries. And they had 2 guys, Jovantae Barnes and let me find the other guy's name. Sawchuk. They had 100-yard games in the bowl in the bowl game.
Yeah, with a lot of the backups played that game too.
Right.
They played hard for him.
I think they'll be fine offensively, and that'll just open up more, or take less pressure off of those wide receivers. So yeah, I think they'll be a little bit better than last year.
Yeah, I think it also they only play the conference Power 5, so the numbers will be better. I think, and defensively, I'm going to go ahead and guarantee that they won't be bottom 10. Now the question is, even if you're in your 80s, can you compete for a Big 12 championship if your defense is 85th or something like that, 75th? That's the question. I do think the defense will be better, and I think it sounds like you do too, right?
Yeah. So I'm thinking I'll make a bold prediction. I think they'll be top 60. I think they'll be top 60.
Top 60. There you go. Well, and also that helps not playing that Power 5. Right, if you had Georgia on the schedule, you might,
Yeah. So I just think that, I mean, it's second year with them, and the linebacking core being the key to his defense. I think they'll be better. I mean, if he's not better, he better pack his bag. He better have his bags packed. I know that. They're not staying around no matter how good he's recruiting. They can't have another. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I think 7, 8 wins. I don't think that's doing. I think 9 or more you got to be able to do, especially with returning. You got your returning quarterback, your OC, your DC all back. So you didn't lose much. So you only got better. So you gotta produce here. And I mean, Big 12 is kind of like after Texas and Oklahoma. I think everybody else is kind of a notch below them. So it's no excuse. It's no excuse here.
But they have no real terrible team in the Big 12. You know what I mean? It's not. If the worst team is West Virginia, which seems like every publication is projecting, West Virginia beat Oklahoma a season ago
with the worst team.
Yeah, exactly. So, folks, we're going to go game by game on the schedule. But before we do that, I want to tell you the Oklahoma Sooners 2023 season preview episode on the College Football Experience. It's brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes, the NFL season is right around the corner, and Underdog Pick'em is a great way to get down on a ton of NFL player props. Also, it's available in a ton of different markets. Plus, plenty of opportunities to win in their daily MLB contest. And of course, make sure to enter their Best Ball Mania. They're giving away $3 million. Well, I need to join that. Head over to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use that promo code SGPN for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code SGPN. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience. Oklahoma Sooners 2023 season preview episode. Hopefully, you're subscribed, watching on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. If you are, you see this graphic done here. Shout out to Cam, our graphics guy. But the win total sitting at 9.5. At first, when I saw that, without diving into the schedule, I said, whoa, this seems a little bit high. But then I was like, wait, I do remember that Georgia game got canceled. So I was like, okay. What was your first reaction when you saw 9.5?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, well, I need to go bet the under before
Yeah.
before anybody else does, because I mean, while I think they're improved, and I mean, I think some people have misconception of you can actually be good and not have and have like a similar season or maybe a little bit like marginal win. Like they could win. I'm not saying that this is what they're gonna do, but whatever their record was last year, what were they, 6-7? I mean, let's say if they go, 8-5, then that's not really a bad season. It is for most people, for Oklahoma, but they can still be improved, although it's only 2 wins in the column again.
Yeah.
So I thought it was too high, to be honest, at first, and then I looked at the schedule and I was like, well, I can kind of see it because they'll be favored in every game but Texas.
Yeah. But man, I don't know. I just feel like let's get into it because yeah, I think that schedule, and I know a lot of people, like I said, I'm not an idiot. I go out and listen to other people do it covering this, and they say, well, they don't play Baylor, they don't play Kansas State, they don't play Texas Tech, and I believe the fourth one is Houston. You kind of want to play Houston, but yes, I understand the point that the schedule's super easy because they don't have a Power 5 in the non-con, and they miss out on arguably 4 of the top 5 teams projection wise. But people project Miami and Texas to finish in the top 2 of the conference every year. Never really happens. But at the same time, I understand their message. Week 1, Saturday, September 2nd, Arkansas State. Butch Jones comes into Norman, Oklahoma. I mean, Arkansas State's terrible to me. This is
I'm on their under.
Yeah, I'm on their under all day. Like, yeah, I always thought Butch Jones, I mean, smart, because he followed Brian Kelly's career. Like Brian Kelly built up Central Michigan, leaves for Cincinnati. Butch Jones, no, he's hired at Central Michigan. Then Brian Kelly leaves Cincinnati for Notre Dame, undefeated team. Guess who replaced him? Oh, Butch Jones, right? Then when Butch Jones had to go do it on his own at Tennessee, things didn't work out. And you're seeing it again here at Arkansas State. I want to know for Oklahoma. Now, this game is intriguing to me right here.
Yep.
SMU has really been active in the portal. I feel like, man, they were NIL before it was cool to be NIL. Go watch that 30 for 30.
Yeah.
Now I'll say if people know the history on that one, I've heard a case that like Texas A&M were doing that shit too. They felt threatened by SMU, and that's why they dealt them the death penalty. But watch the 30 for 30. It's a lot of fun. SMU though is getting. They got some guys from like Bama and Miami, and they TCU transferring in. I think that could be a game, and that's going to be a little bit of a test to see how Oklahoma does. Rhett Lashley, the head coach at SMU. I mean, I favor Oklahoma because it's at Oklahoma.
Yep.
So I will say 2-0. How about yourself, Lonte?
Yeah, I'm with you on the 2-0. If it was on an away game, I would look at it a lot differently because I think that offense can give. I mean, starting off, of course, you're going to have your bumps, and you want to get those out of the way. SMU is not the team. They lost 5 of the top 7 in the secondary. That's not a team you want to come out with your secondary being on their A, or you want them to come out on their A game. So I'm gonna get them here. If it was on the road, it would be a different story. But I think it would be a good game, though. I think it would be competitive.
Yeah, agreed. Then we got a flag on the play here. Look, Oklahoma, Alabama did this shit too, and it bothers me. All right, look, I credit the Power 5 schools for going on the road playing a group of 5, right? With the exception to like Alabama playing at South Florida. They did that on purpose because South Florida plays at Raymond James Stadium and no one goes to those games. So that's an Alabama home game. You'll see it say away game. Same situation here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is going to be a home game in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The whole state, I've spent time in Oklahoma. The whole state is either Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. They're not Tulsa. All right. So this is going to be a home game. I'm not buying this. I'm not buying this attempt of an away. Look at us. We play an away at a group of 5. No, get out of here. This is nonsense. This is a home game. Tulsa's breaking in a brand new head coach, 3-0. How about yourself?
Yep. Yeah, I'm on there under 2, Tulsa. Yeah. It's going to be a rough year for them. Yeah. It'll be a rough year.
Okay. So now I want to key in on, 3-0 in the non-con. That's all the non-con games, the non-conference games for Oklahoma. Now I want to key in on this point of I do believe there is something to fucking over all your schools, like with UCLA and USC leaving for the Big Ten. I was all over USC not winning the Pac-12 last year, even though they had Caleb Williams, who
I remember that. Yep.
is because I was like, man, they're going to get everyone's best shot, and they're fucking them each school's like money over substantially. Like, dude, it's like Washington State might end up in the Mountain West. You're talking about like what Mountain West makes like $5 million a year compared to like $40 million a year. So like this thing is personal with the old Big 12 opponents. The new ones, I don't know that they have that chip on their shoulder. If anything, they're just happy to be there. Right. So something to pay attention to, because they head to Cincinnati, Nippert Stadium, to take on Cincinnati. Once again, though, I think Cincinnati, has been a very good program lately, but I don't know that they have this resentment towards Oklahoma. Now, it is their first ever game in the Big 12. So I do expect this place to be packed and rocking. But if you told me, if I was Oklahoma's head coach, you told me, hey, we're going to play Cincinnati. When do you want to play them? I would say September, because you want to play a brand new head coach, Scott Satterfield coming in. So I favor Cincinnati. I'm sorry. So I favor Oklahoma to get a win at Cincinnati. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm with you. Exactly. I echo everything you just said. You want to get him early. Satterfield is gonna have some. He's gonna have some bruises and bumps and bruises here also, and you want to go ahead and get those out early. I think he'll be fine there later on. So like long term, I think he'll be fine there. But right now, too much talent for Oklahoma. I think too much talent on Oklahoma. So I'll take them to go 4-0.
Yes, and then I mean, dude, who's working at the Big 12 doing these favors for a team that's going to fuck them over a ton of money? All right, because they do the Cincinnati thing. They probably knew, because this Deckers thing, I heard about this months ago. We just didn't know. Well, I didn't know it was Deckers. We knew it was some Iowa State players. I think they must have known about this. So Iowa State, there's several players involved with this gambling thing. If you guys aren't familiar with it, Google Iowa State gambling situation, because Hunter Deckers, their starting quarterback. He might not ever play college football again. You know what I mean? Like he
was only a sophomore, right?
Yeah. And he's a talented recruit.
Yeah, he was good.
Hopefully that doesn't happen to him. But I'm saying at the same time, there's a lot of players involved with this. And I would expect, even if the NCAA goes light on them, which who knows, the NCAA has been a bunch of fools for a long time. So I would expect him to probably be suspended for this point. So this is genius, because Iowa State has actually played Oklahoma really well over the past 5-6 years. Before I looked at this game, I was like, it's at Oklahoma. I'll favor it, but it's kind of a field goal. Now, if you're telling me, because one thing Iowa State doesn't have, and we saw this last year when Ibrahim Young, their safety, transferred to Ole Miss a couple weeks before the season. Matt Campbell does a great job coaching them up, but they don't have depth. They don't have depth like your other schools. You know what I mean? Like, that are really good. So I got them 5-0 to start the season. Something to monitor. If Deckers is playing and some of those other guys, avoid long suspensions, it might be a trickier game than we think, because it's a classic look ahead spot too with Texas on deck.
Yep.
But with knowing that there's going to be a shit ton of suspensions, give me Oklahoma to be 5-0. You?
Yeah, I'm with you. I kind of wonder, like, Campbell is really good when people don't expect him to be good. So I'm kind of thinking like maybe he might rally and make it a decent game and it not be a blowout, because he does perform. If you look at his past teams, even when he wasn't at Iowa State, like they perform well when they weren't supposed to. So something's telling me that if Deckers and whoever else is involved in this is out for an extended period of time, that he's probably going to feel like he's been there before and rally those guys up to be, more competitive. And I mean, I think Oklahoma's going to win the game, I think it'll be a lot more interesting than people think. They do play Oklahoma really well. So yeah, I'm going to go to 5-0, but I think it'll be an interesting game, even without Deckers in the lineup.
I think that's their scariest game. I mean, if they can get that's probably their scariest game out of the first 5. Then comes the Red River Shootout in Dallas, Texas. I'm not calling it the Red River rivalry or something. Get the fuck out of here. I just love that. Like the shooter. It's like when they changed the Washington Bullets. It's like the Washington Bullets. It means bullets. It means guns. Like, do you actually think the person that's about to go shoot something is actually gonna be like, right. You know what? I watched the Washington Bullets last night. Rex Chapman was making threes. I'm going to go shoot somebody. No, it's one of the most ridiculous things. A shootout. What do we say when it's a crazy game? Oh, it's a shootout back and forth. Hockey has an overtime shootout. What? Yeah, it's so stupid.
3-point shootout in the NBA.
So stupid. It's so stupid. It's so stupid. I mean, it drives me absolutely insane. Texas won by 49 a year ago. You remember an ass whooping like that. So that makes this game super interesting to me. Everyone's super bullish on Texas. I could totally see Oklahoma winning this game.
Yeah.
Give me Texas, but just because of the secondary, I mean, I actually think Venables might end up being the better coach than Sarkisian, but what are you doing here in this one?
Yeah, I had a tough time with this one. I'm not going to lie to you because you remember those games, 49-0, you were embarrassed. Like that's the worst loss in this rivalry, like since its existence. So you remember that. And a lot of those players that got beat like that are still on this team. So they're going to remember it. And I mean, look, I'm really bullish on Texas. I'm one of those people who's bullish on Texas. And I just don't think that Oklahoma's there on that same level with Texas right now. Maybe at the end of the season, they'll get there once the defense gets, accustomed to some of these things. But if we just rattle off the first, they're not going to be tested offensively by any of these teams.
Yeah.
So this will be the first. This will be the first test for that defense. And no matter how good you look against Arkansas State, Tulsa, Cincinnati, Iowa State without the quarterback, it's not going to prepare you for what you're going to do because Texas has real weapons on the outside. With AD Mitchell, Isaiah Nayer's back.
Offensive line, it was super young last year too. Yeah,
they started 2 freshman tackles and they held up against Alabama.
Yeah,
and you don't have the guys that Alabama has. So I'm going with Texas here. Field goal game. I think a field goal. 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah. So 5-1. Once again, folks, the over under at 9.5. They get a bye week the very next week. Smarts. Who do they know in the office? That's what I'm saying. This schedule. Genius,
right?
Genius. The fact that they get Iowa State in September, which I mean, I think there's a chance they might have known that. And then the Cincinnati thing, brand new head coach, the fact they don't have to play a Power 5. And then normally when you play that crazy rivalry game, the very next week, you're always susceptible for the upset because you just had a crazy, high range of emotions there in those games. So nice bye week. And then not only that, now you host UCF, who's got no animosity for you. You still haven't really played any school besides Iowa State that has animosity because of the decision to really screw over the Big 12. So it's homecoming. I do think this game is sneaky though. Like I'm going to take Oklahoma to win this. I do think though UCF will be able to score on this defense because they got guys. If Rice Plumlee can take a little bit of a step, completing passes a little more accurately, I think it could be interesting. I'm still taking Oklahoma though, so I will move to 6-1.
Yeah,
what are you doing here?
I'm with you on the 6-1. I think that one team that is like slated to fit in pretty well, like moving up in class, it is UCF because they recruit at a high level. They got a national championship winning coach who knows what it takes to win on this level. And if this was at the bounce house, oh man, I would be all over UCF. But again, it's at Oklahoma, so I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move it into the column, into the win column for the Sooners.
Yeah, and then I know we gotta speed things up. I just realized they gotta be in here in 15 minutes. But at Oklahoma, at Kansas, and at Oklahoma State, I mean, I actually think they could lose both of these because that's the last time ever in Bedlam. I'm actually gonna take them to drop both.
I got them losing to. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. You're good.
Yeah, I got them losing to Oklahoma State and winning. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that they can lose both, but I think Dundee. They usually play pretty well. Dundee, he'll have something for him. I'm not sure what they're gonna do with the quarterback situation, but yeah.
Yeah, and then they're home to West Virginia, which I have as a win. They get West Virginia because they're probably going to be coachless at this point as far as fire Neil Brown. Yep. Then they're at BYU, which is very sneaky to me.
Tough. That's tough.
And then home to TCU. My thing is, I think they're either going to lose to Kansas or BYU. I got them 9-3. What do you got them doing here? Over or under?
I got them going over. I got 10-2, but that BYU game does kind of give me a pause because BYU is going to be physical at the point of attack. They play a big boy schedule, when they were independent. So they're going to be used to, the size and physicality. So I think they'll sneak by BYU, and then TCU will be kind of that little revenge tour along with West Virginia. So I got them 10-2 here, but I can see them going 9-3 though. I can see them going 9-3.
Yeah, I mean, TCU will get the last chance to take them out before they leave to the SEC. It's going to be fascinating, folks. Lonte is on the over. Give him a follow. Give him a follow on social media at XXLonte, LONTE XX again. Folks, make sure you check out his work. He writes college football as well. He's got spreadsheets. He's already been DMing me spreadsheets. It's been fantastic. Yes, that right there was impressed with me. I was like, oh, okay. I like it.
Man. College basketball too. I got him for college basketball. All of them. Every team. All teams.
Let's go. Let's go. Beware what you wish for. Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. We're on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. Give us a follow. YouTube.com/The College Experience. Please hop on over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. That's always good. That's 5 stars. Let's go. I don't even care if you call me a fucking idiot. Just give us 5 stars. Boom. Let's go. All right. All right. Until next time, this is the College Football Experience, Oklahoma Sooner style. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.